Greetings, everyone. This is Thetruthwillrise, back with a new video. It's kind of somewhat of a follow-up to the support video that I made to Mr. Roland Martin, and kind of going to go into a little more depth and detail and kind of give a real breakdown of it. And I know I'm kind of, late to the party on this one, but for those of you who don't know, he was a political commentator for CNN, and he got suspended for some what do they call them, Twitter feed posts or whatnot. And here are the two posts that have caused all of the commotion here. If a dude at your Super Bowl party is hyped about David Beckham's H&M underwear ad, smack the ish out of him. Hashtag Super Bowl. And also, who the hell was that New England Patriot they just showed head to toe in a pink suit? Oh, he needs a visit from hashtag Team Whip That Ass. And according to this article, that several gay and lesbian groups were outraged, and GLAAD said the CNN ought to fire Roland Martin, and the advocates. Apparently now he's an advocate of gay bashing. And, and this is a Yahoo News article, and it goes into how his statement that he apologized, and I guess saying that that according to the gay community, that he was supportive of violence and bullying against gays. I don't see that. Now, let me give my take on it, because this article is actually rather long, and I don't want to take too much of your time reading it. Now, I saw the ad maybe a day or so ago, and if I knew how to edit video, I would post a picture of it, and maybe while I'm sitting here I can find it. And apparently, I guess, from what I remember in the ad, he was, David Beckham just had on, I guess, these drawers. Let me see if I can find it here. And I don't know. I guess. Well, anyway. Okay, I don't. Okay, you know what? Wow, I cannot show these. Wow, I won't show those. That is weird. Anyway, yeah, it's an underwear ad. And looking at these posts, let me get back on track here. Looking at these, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I should preface what I'm saying, because it'll be all over my Twitter feed, but whatever. I don't hate gay people at all. I don't hate anyone. Hate takes too much of a time, and energy, and that's not the energy I choose to put out in the universe. And besides, running hate like that is a program anyway. But now, with that being said, having read these objectively, I'm gonna be honest, GLAAD, you guys are really reaching on this one. You guys really are. Having read these, I'm of the ilk. If something is overt or whatever, or you could possibly draw some conclusions, and that's one thing. This, you got to draw some lines to some dots, and then connect them and put them over here and come back around the bend to even think this is directed, one, at gay people, and then two, in a negative light. Particularly the second one. We're talking about the dude in the whole pink suit. I mean, it could. I'm surprised. The Pimp Association, the folks from the Players Ball, they should be mad because those are the only people I see wearing head to toe pink suits or Cameron or some of them jokers. But I'm sitting here reading it, and I'm sorry. I think you guys are really reaching on this one, and even saying that somehow this is inciting violence against homosexuals. Are you serious? I mean, are you kidding me right now? I think that GLAAD, you really need to fall back on this one, because having read it multiple times, read multiple articles. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give you the gas face on this one because, quite honestly, you're really reaching, and I think, I don't know if perhaps it's because of his excuse me, status or of who he is and in the position that he has. I don't know if you have people. I guess his Twitter feed is fairly popular, or I don't know if there are people who are, I don't want to use this term because of trolling Twitter or patrolling Twitter. Yeah, that's a better way. Patrolling Twitter, looking for things. I don't know. So if that's the case, yikes. I just think this kind of gets into the whole. I'm gonna say this and then wrap this up. This kind of gets into the whole thing of political correctness and not saying something that may or in the future offend someone at some point, at some time, in some place. And looking at this, I gotta be honest, guys. I have seen and heard things way worse than this, where it was fairly obvious, what the implication was, and I didn't see this firestorm. So I don't know. Perhaps it's because he's on CNN or whatnot. Because I've seen many I use the term anti-gay because the term homophobic, when I hear the phobic part, that implies fear. And so because you don't hear negrophobic or Caucasoid phobic or Asian phobic, but or everything else is anti or whatever. So these anti-gay rants, yeah, you know what? Just fall back, Glad. There's far other things that you could be focusing your attention on rather than what someone says on Twitter. Because I guarantee you someone's not going to read that and say, oh, look what Roland Martin said. I'm going to go and beat me up some gay people. It's not gonna happen because usually people who are violent of this type aren't on Twitter like that. They're out being violent and disruptive and unruly, things of that nature. So, I don't think it was inciting bullying. Again, you're grasping at straws here. And let me say something real quick. Something that I've noticed that it seems to me that somehow gay people have had the monopoly on bullying. You see all these stories. Actually, there was one around here about a child getting bullied, and then it came out apparently that he was gay. And while I don't support bullying, of course, under any circumstances, haven't been bullied myself. But you know how I handled it. You punched him. You stand up to the bully. I punched him in the face, and I didn't have that problem anymore. But I guess by saying that, according to certain people, I'm advocating violence rather than people standing up for themselves. Um, because the thing about bullying and bullies, they pick on people who they perceive as weak, that they can do that. So, gay, straight, black, white, fat, skinny, whatever. Um, that's always gonna happen. And that's kind of like children ripping on each other. It's what they do. which I kind of got into a little bit on a thing I did on school uniforms. And that's not even the reason why, because guess what? The children still rip on each other. You put them all in potato sacks and they would still do it. It's just what children do. Now, with that being said, of course, again, let me speak slowly so you understand. I'm not advocating bullying. I don't see these comments as inciting it either. And no one group, let me repeat this, let me say it, no one group has a monopoly on being bullied or mistreated. Let me say that, okay? I don't care who you are. And I don't think that these comments were made in that lane or that vein. I just think with people, this whole political correctness thing is just absolutely asinine. Because the thing about it, political correctness and common sense do not go together. Most people would look at these comments like I did and like, and not even take a second glance at, or even think that, he's gay bashing on his Twitter feed. But, we're in this age, you can't say anything, no one, I was reading somewhere, fat people don't want to be called fat, and midgets don't want to be called midgets, and old people don't want to be called old people. It's okay. If you're old, be old. It's okay. If you're fat and you like it, it's nothing wrong with being fat. If you don't want to be fat, don't be fat. Or if you're a midget, that's okay. Or, if you're physically disabled, I don't know what other names they have for those, or whatever. I was reading somewhere, apparently, I guess, now using the mentally retarded is now a slur or something like that. I didn't know that was like that. People are so doggone sensitive about everything and want to dress up all these terms, Some things just are what they are. If you're old, you're old. If you're black, you're black. If you're white, you're white. If you're skinny, you're skinny. If you're short, you're short. If you're tall, you're tall. It is what it is. Stop. It's like you put up, people are trying to put on these window dressing up around anything, or as El Presidente said while he was on the campaign trail, you can put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. Spot on with that. I mean, just some stuff is what it is. I don't look at the word fat being, derogatory. But which gets me back to I'm tying it in to say this, that when people say things or whatever, I guess there's a chance somebody somewhere could get offended at something, because you've got people on all sides. But does that mean you should never say anything? No. I think what has to happen is people. Here's the creed and the code that I try to live by. I don't purposely, because I'm not perfect, I don't do anything intentionally or overtly to disrespect anybody. However, if that has happened, bring it to me, or if bring it to that person, to that man or that woman one-on-one. And state your grievance, because that is what people who operate in civility and logic do. Rather than these public spectacles that go on whenever someone says anything about a protected group. And I'm going to leave it at that, because there are segments of populations in America that you cannot criticize under any way, shape, or form. Okay? Or otherwise you get fired or suspended, and other bad things happen, and it shouldn't be like that. I just think that as long as people are not doing things to purposely be jerk-offs to people, and if they've misstepped, then you know what? Come to that person and then, let them say, hey, you know what? had a problem with what you said, and here's why. And then go from there. And this is just not advice to GLAAD or the Federation of Fat People or the Coalition of Short People or, I'm sure I'm making those last two up, but I'm sure there's some organization out there like that. But, let's operate with common sense. We all have, powerful brains, and most people are generally respectful. They just, want to have a good life for them and their families and whatnot, and don't seek to do harm to people. So if something happens, you know, come at it with an area of intellect, from that vein. With instead of it sounds like rather emotionalism and whatnot, and with some of the people who've jumped on board is pandering, and I know why, and I may do a video on that. Well, I'm going to do an article about it, a follow up. So this was my take on it because I'm going to be honest, I wasn't all up in arms about it when I read it. I just wasn't. So I think the people at GLAAD and whatever other organizations out there need to fall back and focus on elevating the lives of those in your community rather than patrolling Twitter to see what someone has said. So this is The Truth Will Rise, and this is my take for right now. I know this video ran a little long, and I do apologize those of you that stayed with it to the end. I appreciate it, and I'm sure I've offended many people by the time of this video, but my contact information is there, and I'll address all questions. I just ask, as always, even disagreements, as long as they're done respectfully and from a place of intellect, we can engage in a dialogue, a fruitful dialogue. So this is The Truth Will Rise, wishing everyone much peace, power, and positivity, and I'm out.